Today, I'm going to be revealing the best build in every position in NBA 2K22 Next Gen. But first, if you're looking for somebody to grind your badges, hit up Elite Badge Grinding. They're super fast and 100% legit. Click their links in the description and let them know Hambo sent you. Also, please, if you guys haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 10K before the end of the year, so it'd be greatly appreciated. So for the first build of this video, we're actually going to work backwards and start with the center build. And for this build, we're going to be making an all-around 7'3". For the height, obviously, you need to go with 7'3". That's kind of the point of this build. And then for the weight, I would recommend dropping this down to 240 pounds. And then if you max out the wingspan, as you guys can see, you get a 93 defensive rebound, which is going to be pretty important. So starting things off with the finishing attributes, for the close shot, you're going to want this at a 91. You're going to want a 44 driving lay and a 64 driving dunk. You're also going to want a 92 standing dunk and an 87 post control. This will give you a total of 27 finishing badges, which is very good. Additionally, this build is going to be able to shoot if you bump up your mid-range to an 84 and max out your three-pointer at a 79, giving you 24 shooting badges. Trust me, I've tried to build with a 73 three-pointer, and if you know what you're doing and you're able to time your jump shot correctly, you will be able to green. With a low three-pointer, you can definitely still green very consistently, but you just won't be getting bailed out with whites. So as long as you can time your jump shot correctly, you're going to be chilling. So going down to playmaking, the only thing that matters is that you have a pass accuracy at an 85. This will give you Hall of Fame break starter and additionally gold bullet passer. So scrolling down to the defensive / rebounding, you're going to want your interior defense at a 91, your perimeter and your steal both maxed out, your block at a 57, your offensive rebound at a 90, and then finally for the defensive rebound, you're going to want this at a 93. In total, you're going to have 35 defensive / rebounding badges, which is insane. Honestly, since you're 7'3", you're just going to be getting infinite blocks and infinite rebounds. Scrolling down to your physicals, you're going to want max speed and acceleration, a 66 strength, a 64 vertical, and a 95 stamina. Also, you do have one rating, you just have to throw it on free throw, so just go ahead and do that. In total, this build has 102 badges, which is nuts. You're going to be dunking on everyone as well. You're going to be able to post score very, very well. You're going to be getting infinite blocks and rebounds. You're going to be able to shoot consistently, and your passing is very, very good on this build. Overall, if you're going to be a toxic post scorer on the 1s or 2s, this is the build for you. Or if you're running Pro-Am or Rec Center and you want to be getting infinite blocks and rebounds, this could also be the build for you. If you do want free throw on this build, all you really have to do is drop down your close shot to an 86. If you slap all those ratings onto free throw, you can get an 88 free throw. So moving on to the takeovers. For the first takeover, it's kind of up to you. It depends on your play style. You can go with the post scoring takeover if you want to, but I'm going to go with see the future. And then for takeover number 2, I'm tempted to go with like a rim protecting takeover, but I'm going to go with post shot daggers. As you guys can see, I built a 2-way 3-level scorer, which does kind of make sense as a name. Moving on to build number 2. So for the second build of this video, we're going to be making a power forward and we're going to be making a glitch 6'9" build. If you don't know how to glitch your player, you have to go in and make a new build. Then pretty much just copy everything I'm doing. Make sure you're a shooting guard. You're going to want to go 6'3", 210, and a 7-foot wingspan. And as well, your body shape has to be unburly. And then onto the attribute screen, you're just going to want to upgrade your player. I don't think it really matters how you upgrade it. This is just how I'm doing it. And then the takeovers also don't matter, so just go with whatever you want to go with. And then as you guys can see, I built an offensive threat that doesn't really matter. From there, you're going to want to press edit build and then back out and change it to the metric system. You're going to want to edit the player you just made. It should say 1.9 meters, 100 kg. Now for this build, you are going to be a shooting guard. I know I'm putting this in the power forward position because it can definitely run power forward. It's just going to say shooting guard next to your name. Now onto the body settings, I would recommend bumping up the height to 2.05 meters, which does translate over to 6'9". And then for the weight, drop this down to 85 kg, and for the wingspan, max this out. You guys can see these ratings are nuts. I'll put a screenshot on the screen right now, but trust me, these attribute caps are not normal. You guys can see on the glitch build, you're able to get way better dunking and way better defense. I don't really know why it's like this in the game. If anyone has an explanation, let me know in the comment section. As far as actually how to upgrade this build, what you're going to want to do is bump up your close shot to a 54. For the driving lay, you're going to want this at a 73. For the driving dunk, you're going to want this at a 92. And then finally, for the standing dunk, you're going to want this at a 70. This build will get elite contact dunks, which is very good. I know we only have a 70 standing dunk, but honestly, it's just so expensive to upgrade. I mean, even just upgrading the standing dunk to a 70 was a struggle without completely sacrificing another badge category. Scrolling down to the shooting, you're going to want a 77 three-pointer, and you're also going to want a 77 mid-range, giving you 21 shooting badges, which is pretty good. As I said, with a low three-pointer, you can still green very, very consistently. Scrolling down to the playmaking, you're going to want a 75 ball handling, a 70 speed with ball, and a 72 pass accuracy. This isn't like a primary ball handling build, but I definitely do like to move around the court on my power forward builds. Also, if you know what you're doing, you can definitely dribble. Scrolling down to the defensive / rebounding attributes, first for the interior, you're going to want this at a 63. For the perimeter defense, you're going to want this at an 86. For the steal, you're going to want this at a 90. For the block, you're going to want this at a 95. For the O rebound, you're going to want this at an 84. And finally, for the defensive rebound, you're going to want to bump this up to a 92. The defense on this build is honestly nuts. You have Gold Clamps, Hall of Fame Intimidator, Hall of Fame Interceptor, as well as Gold Rebound Chaser and Gold Rim Protector. Overall, the badges and stats on this build are honestly unmatched by any other build. Finally, for the physicals, you're going to want your speed maxed out, your acceleration maxed out, your vertical at an 80, and your stamina at an 88. You do have one rating, you just have to throw it on free throws, so just go ahead and do that. This build in total has a 91 badges, which is very good. It's able to do pretty much everything you need a power forward build to do very well, especially its defense, which I honestly can't get over how good it is. I'm considering making this build and making a video on it. Let me know if I should down below in the comment section. If you do want free throw on this build, first you're going to want to drop your pass accuracy down to a 70. Next, you're going to want to drop your offense rebound to a 78, and then drop your speed down 1 rating, and you should get an 86 free throw. Moving on to the takeovers, as you guys see, it says I have double advanced gatherers, since that is what I put before when I was glitching this build. But for the actual takeovers, first I'm going to go with See the Future, and then for takeover number 2, I'm going to go with Stuffed Blocks. As you guys can see, I built a 2-way finisher, which is honestly such a boring name for a build that can do so much more than that. Moving on to the third build. On to the third build of this video. For this build, obviously, we're making a small forward. And for this build, we're going to be making an all-around 6'6" build. First, for the height, obviously, we're going to go 6'6". You can't really go higher than this or else you won't get quick chain, which is a very important badge in this game. For the weight, you're also going to want to drop this down to minimum. This way you can be as quick as possible. And then for the wingspan, you're going to want to go with 7'2". If you do want 85 ball handle, you have to go 7'1", which you can do if you want to. However, personally, I don't need any of the 85 ball handle dribble moves, and I want a little bit better defense. So on to the attribute screen. First, for the driving dunk, of course, you need this at a 92. For the driving lay, you're going to want this at a 73. And then for the close shot, you're going to want this at a 65. This build's finishing isn't going to be insane or anything, but you will have elite contact dunks. You're going to be yamming on everyone. Scrolling down to the shooting, first for the mid-range, you're going to want this at an 86. For the three-pointer, you're going to want this at an 82. And then scrolling down to the free throw, you're going to want this at a 76. You will have 27 shooting badges, so you're definitely going to be able to green very consistently. Scrolling down to the playmaking attributes, you're going to want an 83 ball handle and speed with ball. And then next for the pass accuracy, you're going to want to bump this up to a 73. Definitely, if you want to dribble or ISO in this build, you 100% can. Next, for the defensive / rebounding attributes, for your perimeter defense, you're going to want this at an 89. For your steal, you're going to want this at a 97. And then for the block, you're going to want to max this out at a 78. This build's perimeter defense is honestly very, very good. You're 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan, with an 89 perimeter defense, a 97 steal, and a 78 block. Overall, definitely, I would not mind running this as my primary lockdown build. And then scrolling down to the physicals, you're going to want max speed, acceleration, and 80 vertical, and a 93 stamina. In total, this build has 93 badges, which is pretty good. And overall, there's not really anything this build can't do. Moving on to the takeovers. For the first takeover, I'm going to go with Limitless Range. And then for takeover number 2, I'm going to go with Finishing Moves. Since I do want this build to be an offensive juggernaut. As you guys can see, I built a 2-way slashing shot creator, which honestly kind of makes sense as a name. Moving on to build number 4. Next, for the shooting guard build. For this build, we're going to be making a 2-way sharpshooter. For the body settings and for the height, you're going to want to leave this default at 6'5". For the weight, you're going to want to drop this down to 175 pounds, which is minimum, just make you as quick as possible. Next, for the wingspan, drop this down to 7'8". This way you can have a slightly better three-pointer. Now, starting things off with the finishing attributes, you're not really going to have very much finishing on a two-way sharpshooting build. For the close shot, you're going to want this at a 56. For the driving layup, you're going to want this at a 45. And for the driving dunk, you're going to want this at a 65. If you're wide open, you're not really going to be smoking wide open dunks or layups. But definitely the only time you're going to be finishing in the paint is when you have a wide open layup on a fast break. So going down to the shooting, you're going to want your three-pointer at a 90 and your mid-range at an 84, giving you 30 shooting badges. Overall, this build is just not going to be missing. Scrolling down to the playmaking, you're going to want an 86 ball handling, an 86 speed with ball, and a 73 pass accuracy. You will have 27 playmaking badges, but you're not really going to be a ball handler on this build. I mean, 100% if you want to be a ball handler, you can be. But if you want to make a ball handling build, I would just recommend making the point guard build directly after this. Scrolling down to the defensive / rebounding attributes. First, for the perimeter defense, you're going to want this at an 84. For the steal, you're going to want this at a 94. For the block, you're going to want this at a 65. For the O rebounding, you're going to want this at a 66. And for the defensive rebound, you're going to want this at a 71, giving you 27 defensive / rebounding badges. Now, on the previous build, I said you could run this as your primary lockdown, but this build 100% run this as your primary lockdown. Now, for the physicals, you're going to want a 91 acceleration. And then next, for the speed, you're going to want to bump this up to an 87. And then scrolling down to stamina, you're going to want this at a 95. This build is in total 89 badges, which I'm not going to lie, isn't great. I mean, it's not one of those builds that can do everything in the game or anything, but it's definitely going to be able to play its role very well. Also, if you want to, a little variation that you can do is drop down your driving dunk to 0. And then if you throw all those ratings onto driving layup, you can get this to an 85, giving you 10 finishing badges. It's kind of up to you if you want to do this. This way, you won't be able to dunk, but then again, you really couldn't before anyways. If you do want free throw on this build, I would recommend dropping down your mid-range to an 81. Then slap all those ratings onto free throw and you can get a 75 free throw. Moving on to the takeovers. For the first takeover, I would recommend going with extreme clamps. I'm going to be running this as a lockdown majority of the time. And then for takeover number 2, I'm going to go with limitless range. As you guys can see, I built a two-way three-point shot creator. Moving on to the final build of the video. So moving on to the final build of this video. For this build, as you guys already know, we're making a point guard. And this is going to be the best twos or all-around point guard build in the game. Now for the body settings, I recommend dropping down the height to 6'1". For the weight, I would recommend dropping this down to 163 pounds. And then next for the wingspan, you're going to want this at 6'10". Also, you will have 99 speed when you get gym rat or when you do the Gatorade drills. Also, even though your three-pointer does drop quite a bit, you have to go with 6'10" wingspan to get elite contact dunks. So starting things off with the finishing attributes, first for the driving dunk, you're going to want this at a 92. For the driving layup, you're going to want this at a 73. And for the close shot, you're going to want this at a 62. This build is actually going to have very good finishing and very good dunking abilities. It has the elite and a small contact dunk package, which is in my opinion the best dunk package in the game. Moving on to the shooting attributes. First, for your three-pointer, bump this up to an 86. And then next for the mid-range, you're going to want this at an 87. You will have 29 shooting badges, which is very good. And definitely, this build is going to be able to green very consistently. And then next for the playmaking attributes, you're going to want an 86 ball handling, a 91 speed with ball, and an 86 pass accuracy, giving you 31 playmaking badges. And these 31 playmaking badges are going to be so helpful. Moving on to the defensive / rebounding attributes. First, for the perimeter defense, you're going to want this at an 85. For the steal, you're going to want this at a 94. And for the block, you're going to want this at a 57. This isn't like a pure lockdown, but definitely this build is going to have very good defense, making this a viable twos build. And then finally, moving on to the physicals, you're going to want an 87 speed, a 94 acceleration, an 85 vertical, and a 93 stamina. You do have one rating, you just have to throw it on free throw, so go ahead and do that. This build is in total 102 badges, which is nuts. And this build is going to be able to do everything that you need a point guard build to be able to do. It's going to be able to hold its own on defense, catch contact dunks, and shoot and ball handle very well. If you do want free throw on this build, what I would recommend doing is dropping down your mid-range to an 84. And then off of that, you can get a 94 free throw. And also with your last rating, just throw it on block. Now for the takeovers, what I recommend doing for a point guard build such as this is go with limitless range and limitless range as your takeovers, which is honestly just so broken. As you guys can see, I built a two-way threat, which pretty much tells me I've made a build that can do everything in this game. If you haven't made it this far into the video, let me know in the comment section. I honestly want to see who's rocking with me before 10K. Also, we're literally so close, so please subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to subscribe. There's a dribble tutorial and a dribble 6 video on the screen right now. Go follow me on Twitter, and I'm out. Peace.